Good morning, everybody. My name is Bo Wikström, and you are warmly welcome to this Bothnian Coastal Route webinar on sustainable tourism. This beautiful last day of October. We have still people getting in the session, but in order to keep our schedule, I think it's time to begin. I will give you a brief technical information before my colleague Marianne Sjölund will introduce you to the day. For you to know, all the audience has their microphones muted by us. And for all of you attending, we will be recording today's webinar. If anyone has any concerns about being recorded, or if you change your mind later, please reach out via an email and we'll ensure you that you'll be removed from the recording. Please, Marianne Sjöström, what is all this about?
Hello there. Okay, now I think you should see the screen I'm sharing. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marianne Sjöström. As the representative of the lead partner Kvarken Council, together with the whole partnership, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this webinar arranged by the Interreg Aurora project Bothnian Coastal Route. Like Bo earlier mentioned, today's theme is sustainability and its essential role in the world of travel and tourism. We are very pleased to have so many participants in this webinar, which shows the importance of today's theme. We have over 80 persons registered, and that's really nice. We have invited very interesting guests representing the travel trade business for a panel discussion evolving around themes within sustainable travel from the tour operator's point of view. We will also hear a travel journalist and his thoughts of how to attract journalists with your products. Our keynote speaker on today is none other than Professor Xavier from the Surrey University in the UK. He will talk about cost-effective ways to market and communicate sustainability for rural tourism businesses. All right, we'll start with a short presentation of the Bothnian Coastal Route project, which is acting as host for today's webinar. We have a 3-year cross-border project with main funding from the Interreg Aurora program with a total budget of 2.7 million euros. There are in total 7 project partners joining in this project. In addition to the lead partner, an organization standing with its feet in both countries, we have 6 other partners, 3 in Sweden and 3 in Finland. The project partners and all the financiers you can see listed on this slide. And for more information about what's going on in the project, stay tuned by reading the info letters sent out by the project and by visiting the project's official website following this QR code. The project geography represents destinations and tourism companies and products along the coast of the Bothnian Bay and across the Kvarken Strait. There are 14 coastal destinations along the route joining this tourism cooperation. Within this geographical area along the northern Finnish and Swedish coastline, this tourism cooperation aims to increase awareness of the coastal route and reasons for visiting the destinations, for discovering their rich product range, and create better conditions for sustainable growth. There are 3 work packages to be carried out in this project, out of which the inventorial phase is almost complete. We thereby have a picture of the tourism companies and products that will form the product portfolio of the Bothnian Coastal Route. The marketing phase will start in the beginning of next year, as our marketing webpage under construction will be launched by the end of this year. In the meanwhile, there's an ongoing sustainable development process and competence building phase, like, for instance, this event of today, for inspiring tourist companies to initiate and continue their own sustainability initiatives. And there will be more of these kinds of events to come onwards, addressed to our tourism companies and destinations. And in this context, it may also be of interest to know which sustainability development goals the project has chosen as primary goals. Implementing of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in the project plan and in the implementation, we look for to add value to the project in terms of credibility and increasing of effectiveness and reducing costs. We have identified 2 specific SDGs that this project will contribute to, corresponding these symbols you see on this slide: responsible consumption and production, and climate action. And with these words said, I now have the pleasure of opening this webinar and handing over the floor to today's moderator, Bo Wikström. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Marianne. Before continuing this webinar and inviting our panelists, just a few words about sustainability and why it's so important, and especially for you as a client. Well, of course, it's about sense of urgency. The world is falling apart, so we all need to do something. But if you look into it from a business perspective, this has very much to do about your own business. It's about doing better business and at the same time doing good for the planet. Customer demand is changing, awareness about customers is changing, and there are more and more active choices or requests for active choices out in the world. So the responsible traveler is a kind of traveler that is more and more identified, and it's also a client with a pretty good wallet. So every company needs to do something, and also something to attract this traveler. And as you know, we have different standards and different projects on both on national level, region and local level that encourage and helps and coaches companies in their own sustainable development. And it's not so important which one you work with, or if you work with any of them. Every company can develop their sustainable journey. No matter where you are in it. It's also about small steps and communicating those small steps. And on this journey, each of you is the winner. And we in the project team, from all Swedish and Finnish side destinations, we are here to help you if needed. Speaking about the consumer market and the reality, travel trade tour operators are a highly important part of this, both in delivering the business to you, but also communicating what you are doing through your products. And that turns us into the next chapter of this webinar. My colleague Jana Sirike will introduce some very interesting persons from the market. And I just want to remind you that you have a Q&A button on your screen. If you have questions related to each panelist, please write them down and we will try to address as many as possible of them during the webinar, and the panelists can answer your questions. If we don't have time to address all questions, we will write the answers down afterwards and send you an email with all the answers. Thank you. Jana Sirike, please.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Bo, for the introduction. So I'm Jana. I'm one of the project leaders in the Bothnian Coastal Route project, and my responsibility is Kalainuk. So, but the focus today is on our three esteemed European tour operators with remarkable production in the Nordics, and also with very ambitious sustainability mindsets. So I would like to start by introducing Satu Vänskä-Westgarth from 50 Degrees North. Satu is co-owner and director of product. Welcome, Satu.
Thanks, Jana. It's really nice to be here.
North is an Australian Nordic family-owned company, attracting high-end travelers from many markets in the world. And some of the product highlights that you have is escorted tours, round trips, and tailored itineraries. You also have very, very high mindset and ambitions about sustainability, as you have signed the 2021 Glasgow Declaration, and you're also Travel Life certified. And the next panelist is from Switzerland, Emma Arvidsson, Corporate Responsible Manager from Kontiki Reisen. Welcome,
Hi.
Emma.
Thank you.
Nice to have you. So Kontiki Reisen is a market leader from Switzerland to the Nordics, offering several seasonal charter flights. Family holidays, cottage holidays, special interest tours are some of the product lines that Kontiki Reisen has. And Kontiki has also a very ambitious sustainability plan, which they have created on their own. So it's called Kontiki 2030, and it's based on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And I think this is really nice, and I recommend everyone to go to Kontiki's website and look at this. And you're also tour certified. And then our third panelist today, Kimberley Jekel, product manager for Voigt Travel in the Netherlands. Welcome, Kimberley.
Hi, thank you, Jana. Happy to be here.
Yes. So Voigt Travel is another market leader, so from the Netherlands to the Nordics, also offering charter flights, seasonal charter flights. And I would like to lift from Voigt Travel's production, I would like to lift the themed trips, fly and drive, and group tours. And the Voigt Travel has a very nice sustainability thinking that covers also the cultural and local economy parts, as well as the respect for northern nature. And you have the travel life certification. So Bothnian Coastal Route offers 13 destinations and about 300 service providers. So for sure, there's something old and something new for all of you tour operators who are present today. So I would like to start the discussion by addressing first of all Satu, and then Emma and Kimberley can join in to the first question, which would be about how you as tour operators take use of the sustainable work that is done in the destination and by the service providers. How do you take care of this added value, and how do you communicate and include it in your production?
Yeah, so first of all, as a tour operator, we of course want to package tours where all the elements are as sustainable as possible. So when a local destination or a local partner has a certification, it does make our job easier, first of all, just in assessing which elements we want to include in the tour. If there is no certification, it's not a stop for the collaboration, but it will be a little bit more work for us to kind of assess all the elements in place that we are looking for. So that's the first line. That's the first. So that helps our partner and product selection. But then when it comes to how do we communicate this onwards to our clients come a bit further away than Europe many times. So they often visit a lot of different destinations on their travels. So then it is not always possible for us to kind of communicate all the details of every single destination. So it's more that baseline. We have chosen the best possible sustainable product for our clientele. But in our marketing, we often try to find some interesting angles on the sustainability work that our partners do that we can bring to our clients. So it helps both, I would say, in two things: in the selection and then also in our marketing efforts in highlighting certain destinations and partners.
So Emma and Kimberley, do you agree with Satu, or do you have something to add to her opening up of this?
Yeah, it really makes the job easier if also it's kind of, it showcases the transparency. The certificates help us as an orientation. And it's also better for us if the whole destination has kind of communicated a joint vision and mission and shared values, because then when our customers arrive in the destination, they have kind of a seamless, sustainable experience and not different kinds of tidbits of sustainable activities. So it's always nice if as a whole destination, you know what the destination stands for. So that helps us greatly. Yeah. And then with our communications towards our customers, we have our own kind of umbrella label, because we work with certified partners, but also with those smaller, very committed family-owned lodges, etc. So that not always have the resources to get a certificate. So we kind of try to have those both angles, and always showcase kind of the lighthouse products and tell the stories behind those products, and then try to get everyone else kind of involved and raise the bar for all the products, but kind of with a couple of examples and stories to showcase where we're heading to and what the customers can experience when they are there, yes, in the destination.
All right, and then you're muted. Okay, we had a bit of a technical problem here. All right, so do you hear me better now? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, good. So Kimberley, do you agree with this? That it's important that somebody starts, or that the full destination would be sustainable, but in case this is not the case yet, that there are sustainable certificates within the destination, and then you can help to motivate the rest of the service providers in the destination, like Emma was telling earlier.
Yes, I agree. I mean, when an individual supplier has a certification that helps us already, and always when we sign contracts, we ask them about their sustainability. But I do agree that when a whole destination is certified, that will help us to promote the region in a different kind of way.
Yes, thank you. All right, then I would like to address Emma concerning the travelers. So the third party in this, in the triangle of creating amazing experiences. So we have tour operators, and we have the service providers and the destination, and then we have the travelers. So do the travelers of today, do they demand sustainable products, or do you still have to educate people on how to select sustainable travel choices, or how to make sustainable travel choices?
I think I've never met a customer or client who has demanded I want to travel sustainably. Like, has been maybe 1 or 2 times that someone wanted to offset the whole trip, just one element of sustainability. But mostly, like, our mission is to create soul-touching experiences. So we believe that we can only achieve this through sustainable practices. And but we don't communicate then sustainability as a word. We try kind of to describe the elements of sustainability, and those are the things that interest our clients. They want to kind of get in touch with the local culture and customs. They want to really experience, like, it's a lot of noise in Switzerland all the time. Just now the bells are ringing from the church just next to me. It's always something. So in the north, we really like this. It's peace, it's quiet. You got really nice sceneries, and just this reduction, and just to be in nature with nature is something that our clients want to experience, and we can only protect this if we invest in sustainable practices. So they don't demand kind of elements out of the sustainability concept, but not sustainability as such. So we try to kind of offer these experiences that are kind of loaded with sustainability.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to communicate about sustainability, I think, because this is, I think it's quite good that you say it's through the elements that you offer, because otherwise
the German word is also nachhaltig. It's really heavy.
Vollbar. Yes.
A lot of work.
Yes.
It doesn't really sound like fun.
Yes. And Satu, as you have travelers from so many different markets and also outside Europe, how do you feel that that your travelers, how do they respond to the sustainability? Do they demand it? Are they interested in it, or do they just do you need to educate them?
I think a bit of both. There's definitely increased interest. Talking to our sales teams, there are certain kind of elements of sustainability that do come up. You know, what is the most sustainable way to travel? When in the destination? Is it flights? Is it train? What alternatives there are? People are very interested about food, activities, and all that. But there is a lot of education to be done, and a little bit like Emma said, we also try to. It's kind of our responsibility to have all those sustainable elements in place, and then try to communicate it to the clients in a way that they I suppose you don't want to feel guilty when you travel either. So you have to present it in a way that it's very approachable. But we are trying to also communicate to clients in all the different levels of the sustainable alternatives, whether it's carbon labeling tours on our website. So those who are kind of making their own selection without maybe not talking so much to our sales teams can see there already what is the better alternative. And of course, our sales teams are always answering questions and kind of trying to direct the clients to alternatives that would be more sustainable as such.
And Kimberley, from the Dutch market, how is the sustainability awareness within your clients?
I feel like the customer is becoming more aware of sustainability, but yet we still have to educate them. recently we did a questionnaire under our travelers, and I believe only 10% answered that they value sustainability, and occasionally we do get booking requests where customers are looking for the most sustainable package, but then the other 90% is kind of aware, but then we have to educate them. And I believe it's actually Satu said something really nice that on our website we mention sustainability a lot by the word and not so much by the action. So that could be something interesting to not focus or focus on sustainability without mentioning sustainability.
Yeah, I think this is like the overall challenge in the marketing of sustainability. You don't just want to keep saying how sustainable and how environmentally nice everything is, that it should come through other elements and values. But it's
I think you have to be also very specific. If you just say it very generally, it doesn't really touch any emotions. But if you tell kind of stories, so you do it with examples and very personal stories, and then it gets kind of closer to the world of the customer, and then it's more engaging.
Yeah, so that's really the way to make sustainability a marketing. A positive addition to the marketing communication, and it's also close to the truth. So that's a good way. Okay, then when I was looking through your sustainability declarations on the websites, I noticed that Voigt Travel is the one that really highlights culture and heritage, and also local economy, etc. in their sustainability work. So I would like to address Kimberley to start with the question that how do you incorporate local culture and heritage as sustainable values in your production?
In Voigt Travel, we mainly focus on smaller accommodations and smaller suppliers. We kind of try to avoid, let's say, the chain companies, even though we do offer them. But we believe, or actually, we do want to offer our clients the best experience to the Scandinavian countries, and we believe that the smaller suppliers are able to offer that experience because it's local, small businesses. How do you say it? It's we give back to local economy. So we really like to look for that kind of
and it's kind of a coaching, isn't it? That you kind of like to put emphasis on the coaching, that you grow together with the partners that you have. And I think it's nice and ambitious from you, and it's probably a bit time consuming as well to find the most authentic suppliers in each destination.
Yeah, exactly. It's challenging, but it makes our work really interesting. It's something, we feel good about doing that, and especially the coaching when we start with a new region, we give workshops that side. So I think the next one we have this winter is in Iceland, where we are going to do a coaching again. So
okay, yes, nice. And then Satu, do you have something to add to this about culture and heritage as sustainable values and included in your production?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think like the sustainability has never been to us only about the environmental values, but a little bit the same as Kimberley said, it's about supporting the local economies. It's about taking clients as much as we can off the beaten path to the smaller destinations as well, to try to not only bring clients in the high seasons, but try to extend the season so that our local partners can have staff longer seasons or all year round.
And then this is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Really... Yeah, and that's what we try to work together with our local partners to find that sort of product that will attract our customers for longer seasons. And then I would also say, like, when it comes to the actual cultural kind of elements, yes, that is, I think that is what makes the tour for our foreign clients. So that's something that we work then in really close collaboration with our local partners, because it is through that product selection that we can offer those sort of cultural local heritage elements, which are really, I think, really the key in our touring.
Yes, and Emma, I think you touched this a little bit earlier already when you mentioned about, or when you spoke about the travelers and how to educate them, and if they choose or demand sustainable products. So you were already on this with the elements. And I think you also meant cultural and heritage matters.
It matters a lot. Is of course why our travelers why they travel, as my other panelist said before me, and also it's really important aspect of sustainability that you really need this engagement with the local communities, because we are not the expert on the culture and local heritage of these destinations. So we really need to take our time to listen and educate ourselves first. Because you mentioned at the introduction, we had this Kontiki, or the program Kontiki 2030, and then we always take 2 of these 17 goals per year, and this year we focus amongst others on indigenous people. So there we have made, like, we engaged in a round table with different partners and also the Sami Parliament to look into wording, pictures, sources, just to give a truthful picture, and also these connections, so that it's not goes into stereotypes or goes into exoticization. So it's really a truthful image and not something that people wish for, that it was something 100 years ago, but that also the Sami people, they can be true to themselves, how they are living today, and still preserving the cultural heritage. So we really tried to engage with the local communities and let them decide how they want to meet our clients. And we also foster all year round tourism. I think that's really essential if you want to preserve culture and kind of work against immigration to the southern regions, to cities. So it's something, we want to meet them where they're at. So we also we have direct flights from December to March, and then again from June to September in the region, to really, and also show with the pictures that you show not only summer and winter, you show the spring and autumn pictures to really show there's something to discover all year round. Just different activities. So.
Yes. So what I hear from the three of you, which is really nice and which is super important for us here in the destinations, is that you want to extend the seasons and not focus only on short seasons. This is a very, very important matter for us here in the destinations. And then I think that the tour operators are also like the interpretation part. So you learn about the local culture and local ways, and then you interpret it in your products so that your clients hear it and are able to understand it better. Am I correct here? Yes. All right. Then we have a topic about communication, and this one we have touched already a few times in the discussion. How do you feel that your partners and then the destinations could support you in communicating about sustainability better and more effectively? So do Satu want to start by this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the key is just to keep us informed, using different channels. We often talk to our partners. Just remember to keep us updated. I think newsletters are good also, just sharing information to us, and then the face-to-face conversations we have throughout the year in trade shows and when we are visiting the destination. So yeah, just keep us up to date what you're doing, and then we can use that in our marketing and sales and product selection better.
Okay, and what is Emma's thoughts on the communication?
I think that a lot of our partners, they kind of feel like it's nothing special. It's like something that everyone does. It's like my neighbors do it. Like they kind of don't feel this pride because it's normal for them, but for us it's really special visiting the destination. So China, just maybe try to build up your confidence and really show what you're doing. Like a lot of people are just kind of feel like it's not enough, it's not big enough. And we are always interested in personal stories as well, like not only wind, like the energy is good, waste is good, check. So we are like more interested in the stories or the kind of the personal touch. So combining the facts with the emotions would be great.
Yes, and I think many times things are already done sustainable in a sustainable way here in the Nordics, because we have a close relation to nature, and we're kind of ourselves are interested in preserving the heritage and culture here. So we do already things many times quite sustainably. So I would also like to take away a little bit of the pressure from getting a certificate, because you already do a lot, which the certificates demand. So if you go or when you start to do a certificate as a service provider, you already do a lot of things correctly. It's just about communicating them and just putting them into paper and having like a recognition for it.
What's mostly missing is kind of the collaboration sometimes. Like everyone individually is doing a lot, but then you need kind of to put together, kind of to collaborate, or maybe say, I'm doing this greatly, maybe the clients then after can go to you and experience this, so then the clients can stay longer in one region when you're thanks to collaboration, so that you know it.
Yes, like a network. Yes. Yeah. And Kimberley, how do you feel about this?
I feel like there is a slight difference between Swedish suppliers and Finnish suppliers. So in Sweden, they are really focused on getting the correct labels, and they are very aware of what they are doing regarding sustainability. And as soon as we visit those suppliers, or when we start contracting for a new season, they immediately send the document, everything what they do about sustainability. And I feel like in Finland, they do the exact same things, but they are kind of I think, Emma, you said it, not so much aware of what they are doing. So when you ask them what they do about sustainability, they're kind of like, well, not so much. And when you start asking questions like, do you separate garbage? Do you do this? They're like, yes. Yeah, we do that. Yes. So they're not so much aware of what they are doing, and I think they're also not aware about how special it is, because I believe the Scandinavian countries are way ahead of the rest of Europe regarding sustainability, but it's already becoming so normal there.
This is true.
So
yes.
Yeah, but in the communication, I think some suppliers, they already let us know what they do, or when there's an update, they send us an email or they call us, whatever what they are doing. And with other suppliers, we have to ask a bit more, but in communication, it's going really well.
Yeah, so you agree with Satu, keep you informed.
Yes.
Yes, good.
And I have to say, I agree both with Emma and Kimberley. Sometimes you have to kind of dig out that information. So I think I think as Nordic people in general, people are a little bit modest, and so the more we know, the better it is as a tour operator, I think.
Yeah, right. We actually have a question from the audience concerning certifications. The question goes, you mentioned a certification for the tour operators, suppliers, and the destination. What was the name of the certification? Well, there is different certifications. So these tour operators that we have in the panel now, they have Travel Life and Travel Cert, but those are for tour operators, I would say. So for suppliers, there is Green Key, Green Activities. They are both internationally acknowledged. And then there is in Finland, there is Ekokompassi. In Sweden, we have Nature's Best and Västerbotten Experience. And of course, then there is the Sustainable Travel Finland, which is by Visit Finland. but in order to reach Sustainable Travel Finland, you need to have a certification. And we in the product team, we are happy to help you with this. So email us, and we can put you in the right direction of which certification would be correct for, or possible, or doable for the service providers. Do you have our panelists? Do you have any preferred certifications that you would like the service providers to have, or are they all good, so to say? Does Emma have an opinion on this?
I think that all those that you mentioned are all very credible, like a third party certified. You always need to see like they have these different elements of sustainability, so the economic, ecologic, and community part, and that it's audited by a third party. And it's always great if the whole destinations as a whole has goals and programs, because then also the level of below, and the policies, and how you all the laws of how you build houses and plan hiking routes versus other activities is included. It's not. It's more holistic, so it's always nice if a whole destination as a whole also has a plan.
Yeah. Yes.
But we just see like GSTC accredited would be nice, but it's not. Can also be just like if it's on a national level, if it's recognized, it's also good.
Yes. All right. Kimberley, do you have any thoughts on the different certificates?
At this stage, for us, it doesn't really matter which certificate they have. I believe in the near future, it will become it will become helpful to know which certificate and what exactly it means. But at the same time, I would say at Voigt Travel, we are still, we recently started being aware about sustainability. We were, of course, aware about sustainability, but showing it to the customers, it's quite new to us in a way. So yeah, for us, it doesn't really matter at this stage which certificate it concerns.
Yeah. And Satu, do you have any preferences when it comes to certifications of your partners?
But I think I agree with Emma. I think Emma put it quite well. And like I said earlier, like the certifications will help us in assessing what's in place in the destination already. If there is no certification, we can still potentially work with you, but it will take us a little bit more effort in assessing all those elements that we are looking for in place.
Yes, and there was a question from the audience that links to what Satu just said. So the question is, are you currently excluding destinations or businesses who don't have any SDG certificates? If not, do you think this will be the case in the future? So Satu already said that it's more work for the tour operator if there is no certification in place, because then the tour operator has to do these questions and the detective work because of their own certification. And I think that Kimberley and Emma can agree on this. But how about the future? Will it be more important to have certifications in place also from the destinations and the service providers in order for you to cooperate with them?
And before you answer that question, Bo from the sideline here jumps in with a question. I understand you all agree that you can't manage what you don't measure. And it's important with reliable certification. They will have an important part to play. But you know, the European Commission now is out fighting greenwashing and green claims, and there's a new law that has been agreed on September 19th, 23, to be applied 26. And that's all about green claims. That will probably affect what we will communicate. So back to what you think about the future. what will be important from your view and what you see from your consumer side?
Do we start with Kimberley on this one?
Yes, I think this is a tough question.
Did you bring out the crystal ball?
I wish I had, but no, I think at some point it will be more and more important. I think I'm not talking about the near future, but further ahead, that it will become really important that suppliers have a label or a certificate. But I think at some point, when we are more experienced with this, and like you mentioned earlier, Jana, we do a lot of coaching on the destination. I believe at some point when it's difficult for a partner to collect a label or a certificate, I think we are able to help them and to make
so you can also
achieve
kind
that.
of coach there which
Yes,
certification would be
yes.
good for them. Yes, thank you. That's nice. That's nice to hear. And Satu, what are your thoughts on the future certifications?
Yeah, so we like others have mentioned here or as well, like we work with a lot of smaller local partners, and maybe not all of them at least yet have had the resources to go for the certificates. And if we have a long lasting relationship and we know them really well and we know what they're doing, whether they have a certificate or not, I don't think it's still gonna stop our collaboration all of a sudden. But I think when it comes to new suppliers, if you don't have a certification, you will in the future, I think, have to have a more and more robust way to show what you're doing. And then if you have that in place, why don't you have a certificate? So I think maybe in the future, it will be more and more important to have that label, just to show that the work you're doing is what it is doing. Exactly. Is what you're saying you're doing, yeah.
Yeah, the certification, they really provide like a common guideline of doing things in a tested way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so they should, I would like to take off the drama from the certifications, because they are not really, like we have now said many times, both you and me, that many suppliers, they already work really sustainably. But it's just about the documentation then, that they should just take the time and do the documentation to receive that certificate.
Absolutely. And about the certifications, I'd like to point out one thing, like how we have decided what certifications we go for is, I think it should never be only that sort of paper filling exercise. Ideally, that certificate will push you to be a bit better than you were before. So I think ideally, like even though I'm sure a lot of the suppliers these days have a lot of those elements in place, but ideally when you do the certification, you will in some way grow or be better than even than before. And keep that level, of course.
Yes, yes. And Emma, do you have some comments to add to this?
I agree with the others. It's like kind of a certificate for me, kind of like a stepping stone. It kind of gives you a baseline and shows you where you have more potential or more responsibility to move forward. So it's kind of it's a management system like quality, like other topics as well. And I think it will increasingly become kind of a license to operate, like increasingly within the EU, as Boo said, it will become something that you just have to do. It just depends. Either you do it today and then you may be more ahead because you're more used to the tools, or you do it later. But I think from our part, we will not exclude per se partners because they don't have a certificate. It's because mostly they have something else in place, or they're the only ones in their region, so we have to take them anyway because the route goes passes them.
Yes. And then there's one more question from the audience about certifications. The problem with certifications for small suppliers is the cost. Nature's Best cost them 10,000 Swedish krona for a very small company. Yes, I wasn't aware that Nature's Best is so expensive. I think that green activities and Green Key and Ekokompass in Finland, they are all fairly cost effective. And I think that this is also an investment. So it's not I think it's definitely worthwhile. It's like a development process, like also the panelists have mentioned here, that it's you grow with the job, and I think this is kind of good investment for the future. And yes, then I would like to ask our panelists about the Bothnian Coastal Route. All of you have some of our destinations already in the production. And now, if we are all moving towards sustainability, would this be a way for us to get more of the Bothnian Coastal Route products into your productions? How does Kimberley see this?
I think sustainability is a big part to start up a new region, but at the same time, for us, it's not necessary to start bringing people to the coastal area. So it helps us in a way, but then I feel like it's not essential. I think, you know,
it could be a common goal.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And how does Satu see this matter?
I think Emma mentioned earlier, like if a whole destination is going the same direction, it does help. But of course, for product selection, that's not the only thing we are looking at, but it is one big element. So if you know the whole region is certified or have the same goals and pathway, then it's definitely helps.
Yes. And Emma, do you have something to add to this?
I think it's just if you know, so if the mission and vision is aligned and the values, it's also like what we communicate towards our customers, the picture that we are painting and the words we're using, it's also what they experience when they are traveling that region. So it helps if everything is aligned, because then also the experience when they are traveling is better and more rich.
Then we actually have a question from one of our project members, from Peter Kjellberg, who's the project leader for Vasa in Finland. So Peter is asking, when it comes to transportation in the destination, do you see an increasing demand of electric rental cars, transportation by train, bus, etc.? So this is when the clients have arrived and are going around in the destination.
I can say to that absolutely yes. We do a lot of small escorted group tours where there are minibus elements, and that's the one question we get from the clients is, what type of vehicles do you have? Do you have e-buses? And same goes for the self-drive tours. So it's definitely something that is increasingly requested from the clients.
Good. And does Emma and Kimberley agree to this?
We also had as part of our tour certification, we did a materiality analysis with Finnish like with our winter products, winter destinations, and mobility was one of the key challenges, like sustainable mobility within the region that we want to tackle. Like both the partners on place and also the Kontiki employees said, like this is one important challenge that we have.
Yes.
Because it's very scarce. It's not like, if it's not densely populated, it's always with the business part of mobility. It's
And Kimberley, you also have Fly and Drive as a big part of your summer production.
Exactly. Yeah, we do see an increasing demand for especially electric cars. And we are starting to implement that into our tours as well. So at the moment, we don't offer fly and drives including an electric car, but we do pinpoint where there are charging stations, for example, and there is a possibility to upgrade, let's say, to an electric car. So yeah, there has been a big increase in demand.
Okay, good to hear. All right, we are coming to the end of the panel discussion. So I would like to, first of all, thank the panelists and thank the audience for the questions. And there is still some time for a short comment from our panelists. if you have some final words for us. Floor is yours.
Well, I can just say that I think it's always exciting to hear when destination as a whole is starting to plan the destination or the sustainability journey together. So yeah, very excited to hear what's happening along the Bothnian Coastal Route in the future.
We will keep you posted.
It's also from Kontiki's side, it's also very interesting that you're heading in the sustainable direction. We're very interested to collaborate in the future, and I think with regards to communication, what's maybe the next step will be to involve the customer more, to not just only communicate one way, but to make them part of the experience and maybe also create products where they can be more active. So we also started with two of our destinations in southern Sweden and in northern Iceland to get our customers more involved also during development of the products. Not only this is the package, here you go, take it or leave it, but kind of to include them already, integrate them in the development of prototypes and testing. So they get more kind of this community as well.
Mindset, yeah. And Kimberley, do you have some last words for us?
I don't really have any final comments, but I think it's a super interesting approach to focus on sustainability as a region. And I actually really look forward to the future and working together.
Thank you. Okay, then thank you from our part, and our heartfelt thank you to the panelists that you joined us. And now we move on to the next part of the seminar.
And thank you from me too, and hope you will join us in an exciting future developing this extraordinary road trip around the bay. Speaking about experiences, our next speaker is a Swiss travel journalist, Andrea Ullius. He has been traveling this route on both the Swedish and Finnish side a few times during the years. And now he writes for the German tourist magazine Nordis. And he has recently made a tour around the whole bay. And we are keen to know if he has seen any development during the years. What's his views regarding USPs, also due to sustainability, and also maybe some advice. What's important? What's the most important things to prepare? How to prepare when you have a visiting journalist? I think that would be quite interesting for our companies to know. The scene is yours, Andreas.
Thank you very much, Bo, dear colleagues. Warm welcome from Switzerland, and I'm very pleased to be able to give you some feedback and of my journey on the Bothnian Coastal Route on the project. So my name is Andrea Ullius. I come from Switzerland. You heard it, and I travel now since 10-12 years. Mostly in Sweden, but also more and more in Finland. And so I travel as a journalist, as a blogger, and as a scout. So then I'm really happy that Emma is here. So I work a little bit as a scout for Kontiki travel, and we have really good work together. So I traveled the Gulf of Bothnia a few times, and the first big travel was 2020 when I was doing research for the Kvarken destinations project. So that was during the pandemic. It was a little bit not so easy, but then I have written a brochure that was B2C, and so then I met some of you, and this year I made the whole route. And it was really, really, really nice. And so I tried to build product or help to build a product for the product manager from Kontiki. I talk what is possible, what's not possible, and what is my idea. And yeah, so I think the Gulf of Bothnia, your project is really really nice for people. They will travel there. So you have so varied and breathtaking scenery, and you have experience a lot of experience around the trips. You have many coasts, you have beaches, lakes, rivers, and on this trip you have both. You have the typical thing from the north, and you have the typical thing a little bit from the south, with all the sand beaches, and that it was really special. And I think these islands are one of this USB you have. So this combination, city, landscape, and island. So that was really exciting. And you have so many cultural attractions in the region, such as Gammelstad in Luleå, but more on every city. You have UNESCO World Heritage Sites. I met a lot of mixture of different cultures there, such the Sami, but the whole theme of fishing, of the wood history and trade, and so that was, you have a lot of different experiences there, and that's more as only outdoor activities like biking, fishing, so that you can find this everywhere. But the combination of culture, of these activities, of the nature of the island, so that was really fantastic. And so then what I think it's also really interesting is that you have many larger cities to offer, such Vaasa, Oulu, Umeå, Skellefteå, Luleå, and each city has also the unique sites and activities. So that gives a perfect mix about nature experience and city feeling. So I think that's the USB. And another USB is for the north. You have really short distances between one city and the next city, and between the cities you have a lot of experience. So on a round trip, it's not city, then you have to drive 2 hours to the forest, and then you are in the next point. So you have a lot of things on your way. So I burn for this region. So it's really fantastic. And when I see, I can see really that it grows, the tourism there, and the companies grows. And so that's really interesting and really fascinating. So I think that's, yeah, I like it. So, but today the theme is sustainability, and I think we have to. I look at different things when I look at sustainability. First, I think we have to talk a little bit less about sustainability and a little bit do more sustainability. A lot of people, they talk about this and they don't do it. So I think that's one thing. And then if you are honest, if I'm honest, I have to say that traveling is never sustainable. You have your footprints every day you was on your road, but not traveling is not the solution for that. So then the question is, how can I travel, or how you can offer products? They are both all ecologically, economically, and socially sustainable. So the ecological aspect for the traveler or also for the journalist is not so easy to see, because all these things with the towels in the hotel and the separate waste, so that's the base. So with this you can't catch more people to travel on this place. But I'm also not sure if labels are for the traveler so important, because the most of the labels, they don't know it. So, but I travel a lot in Sweden, so then I know the label Kraft for food. But in Switzerland, in Germany, nobody knows what is Kraft. So that's too much labels, and for the traveler, I think it's not so it's not the USP, the first USP, if he see it's Kraft or it's not Kraft. So I think the economic aspect. So now first back to the ecological aspect. I think it's my own that has the most possibility to be sustainable, because when I how does it say, it's up to me. Don't let the waste in the nature, don't go away from the path in the national reserve. I buy local food, I do it, all these things. So then it's my influence on this thing. And the economic aspect, I can see it when travel companies or even travel or family-owned business, when the business stays in a long time and they invest a lot of money in the business. So especially, I can take one, it's Kukula Forsen, family Spolander. They are a long time there, they develop more and more, they build some new things, they invest, they make it the right way. So then you can see it's a economical sustainability. But for me, the most exciting is the social aspect. So for me, are the people, as a traveler and as a journalist, the people are in the foreground. I will hear the story of the people. They live in Finland, they live in Sweden, and so then the tourism must be in harmony with nature and the people. And for me, it's the perfect day when you make an activity with local people, sit on the fire, have a coffee, heard a story about, you can tell a story about me, and I heard a story about the people that work there. And so that's the most important thing. And I agree with that what I heard before. It's important to support small businesses, small companies, family-owned business, and because they burn for that what they do. And so we can help them to make it better and better, and they can live about this. They can live with them what they do. So yeah, but then the problem is a little bit the small business sometimes they are not so professional as the big, because they have not so many employees, so they do it all themselves, and they are not so with the website. So that's sometimes a little bit the problem, and I think we can help them to be better in this way. And yeah, for me it's clear. I buy my local food, and I buy local products because they are sustainable and they are better. Food is more tasty, and yeah, and yeah. But I don't know, but what can you do to develop this this area a little bit more? So I think promote contact with the people they live there. So and involve the traveler with that what the people do there. So one of my best experience was when I was fishing with Junkerfiskarna, and not a tourist fishing, so a real business fishing. They catch the salmon, and I was with the whole family there. And when they prepare the salmon, they smoke the salmon, and on the whole day we talk about their life, and I talk about a little bit about my business. So then it's a little bit, you are a little bit part of the family. So and this experience is that you have for your whole life. You go back at home, you talk about your friends what you have done in your last trip. So and yeah, so this is for me the most important thing. And of course sometimes it's a little bit not so easy to book some activities, because you have to write an email to a company, then you have to wait 3 days, then the receiver, we have no time. So it must be a little bit more professional sometimes. That's easier for the travel companies, and also easier for the individual tourists. So that can be helpful. And then we talk about the small business. It can be an option to build some pools. So because I saw in a region of Vasa when I was with Peter on the road. So there are some small resorts, but they have 3 or 4 cabins. So when everybody want to work together with small companies, so you have only 4 cabins, but you have 10 companies with 4 cabins. So then if you build a pool, you can help together to book and to find a place for the traveler. So that can be an option to a little bit help the small business. There's also a lot of things that are interesting, but I think you have some questions to me.
Thank you, Andreas.
I hope you understand my bad English. So that's one of the difference between Sweden and Switzerland. Your English is better than the Swiss English.
I hope you've seen the campaign, Andreas, about Sweden and Switzerland.
Yeah,
I will send it to you.
There are two possibilities. Visit Sweden has too much money, or they have no good ideas. So I think it will be better when they invest more in your product, and as to tell the people what is the difference between Switzerland and Sweden.
Let's see what happens. Andreas, I think you personalize what I would call a responsible traveler. You're curious, and your aim is to leave a small footprint as possible. When you go around as a journalist and meet especially the smaller companies, what would your advice be? You've been talking about the importance of getting familiar with locals and the sense of sharing our lifestyle wherever you visit. What's your best advice to medium-sized and smaller companies, how to prepare and what information to share to a journalist, as this is also a part of the product development?
I think the story behind is for the journalist important. What's the idea of this company, and why they do it, and of course when they build. So we take this famous wood hotel in in your city. So that's a story behind. But that's not a small business, it's a big business. But they are the perfect combination of the hotel, the culture, the library, and so this is the story. And the story is not how many beds are there, and I don't know. So and in the small business it's the same. So I visited this company, Horses of Taiga, the two girls. So there's a big story. The first story what I learned is what is taiga. So and then how they work with the horses and where they come from. So the story behind, and so in so the meet the locals is a little bit so the story and what they do, what they have, what the problems they have. So.
Right, interesting. And that might be a good example, partly answers a couple of previous questions also, as Horses of Taiga is one very small company, still certified within Nature's Best. And it was an investment, they say, but they earned it back quite fast. It's a part of their business plan, not only about their footprint, it's about business development. And it increased their business also with the customers they wanted.
Yeah.
And that's a part of the story also.
That's a part of the story. So, and when we talk about sustainability, there are so many aspects. And one company takes aspect A and develop them, and one company will be autark. So they have their own electricity, they have their own grey water preparing, and they are really for themselves. Another company works more with food, and so that's can be so different. So I think you don't find a company they made all perfect. So
you're absolutely right. Andreas, thank you for your good advices. Hope to see you many times around the Bay again, and that you continue to follow our history and development. Now it's time for a 10 minutes break. At 10 sharp, we invite our keynote speaker, Professor Font, for an exciting lecture. So you will all have time to grab a coffee or tea or just take a break. See you in 9 minutes, 10:00, for our last part of this webinar. See you soon. Welcome back, everybody. Now it's time for our last session of the webinar. We will speak about cost-effective ways to market and communicate sustainability for rural tourism businesses. And we have invited Professor Font. He has conducted around 150 courses for more than 3,000 businesses on how to market, communicate sustainability. And it's commissioned by national tourist boards, national parks, industry associations, and businesses in over 15 countries, as well as numerous reports to promote pro-sustainable behavior in tourism businesses. Please take the stage, Professor Xavier Font from Surrey University.
Thanks, Bo, and thanks everybody for inviting me. I know that when you're having to do these things also in a second language, it's always difficult, and I know everybody in the call is speaking a second and sometimes a third language. You know, to do this, and 3 hours of listening in another language, it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of commitment on your side. Let me share my screen, and what you'll notice is that what I'll be talking about follows many of the things that you have heard from speakers earlier on today, both in the interviews that you had in the panel, as well as what you heard from the journalist earlier on. I've been following with interest the whole session. It's very exciting because, in a way, what I'll help you do now is to summarize with a number of examples some of the things you've talked about so far. My career in sustainable tourism marketing started by looking at how certification could work and how it could be the deciding factor to separate the businesses that do good work from the business that don't. And then with time, I realized it wasn't going to be as simple as that. We could use it, but it couldn't be the only tool that we used. And we needed to become much more clever about how we communicated sustainability practices. I'm going to take you through about 50 examples in 1 hour. So I know it's a lot of content. We'll try to do it in 45 minutes so we can have time for questions and answers. If you find I speak too fast or if there is something you want me to explain again, please put your questions in the Q&A, and then I can slow down or I can return to a concept, and then we can just make sure that we're working together on this. There are 4 key benefits I want to talk about first, and I'll give you examples on each one of those. We'll look at how do you better communicate sustainability so you can improve your service and you can reduce your operating costs with the help of customers. I will talk about also how do you better communicate so you improve the satisfaction of your customers, you improve their expenditure, and you reduce loyalty and improve loyalty and reduce seasonality. And you'll see the loyalty and seasonality, I presented them as one benefit, not 2, because I think they're very closely linked. And there is clearly a 5th benefit that we all want on how do we attract new customers. Frankly, I'm putting this, as you can see, lower down. I think there's a lot of work that we can do on improving the top 4. And there is no magic bullet on how we do number 5. So let's do the first 4, which are easier to do, and let's do them together. And when we know how to do those 4, we can move on to number 5. In terms of improving your service, let me give you 5 key examples of how we can do that. Now, I can summarize them all here, but essentially the first thing I'm asking you to do is, if you want your customers to respond to what you're asking them to do, if you genuinely want them to engage, you need to ask nicely, and you need to ask at the moment when it's easy for the customer to read the message and to respond to the message, and not when it's easy for you to ask the question. The example I'm giving you here is from a beach cafe in England. And what we noticed in these beach cafes, there was a lot of waste. Customers seemed to take their teas and coffees and other things down to the beach from the beach hut. And then they would, let's say, forget them there. When it came to the end of the day, they had too many things in their hands and they wouldn't bring them back. So you can see what this business is. They invested more money in having their own cups printed. And you can see the cup on the right-hand side. It says, "Drink in the view. Stunning, isn't it? We aim to keep it that way." And then in smaller writing, it says, "We use natural toxic-free detergents and cleaning materials preventing damage to the beach, the sea, or any wildlife." If you turn the cup round at the back, it says, "And all you have to do is put me in the bin." The idea of the message here is very simple. The customers will not read the message at the beach hut. They have too many other things to do. But they will read the message when they're holding the cup in their hand. For the same reason that many of you read, what your cereal packet says. And probably this morning you read what that cereal packet said when it was sitting on your table, if you eat cereals, right? And it doesn't say anything new. It says exactly the same thing it said yesterday, but you'll read because it's easy and it's convenient. So you need to ask the customer at the time when the customer is prepared to read. The second thing to consider is you need to be trustworthy with your messages. The message sustainable food, for example, doesn't sell very well because most of us, we don't know what sustainable food looks like. We know what local food looks like, but not sustainable, right? So you need to actually communicate in a way that you provide evidence for what you've done, but also you communicate with empathy. I have seen very successful communication using first-time person, including the photo of the owner or the manager in the communication on your website or other materials, and including also testimonials, for example, for your food suppliers. So the example I'm showing you here comes from a British restaurant, and the message here was, "Meet our great British suppliers." Now, remember something, you cannot say, "I am a very good business." It's a little bit like your favorite actress going on television and saying, "I'm very beautiful." It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. You cannot say it about yourself. You can say it about somebody else, or you can encourage somebody else to say it about you, but you can't say it yourself. So the idea here is, we talked about our great British suppliers in this case, and you can see we have their photos, we have their websites, we said something a little bit about them. And psychologists tell us that by talking nicely about your suppliers, it's almost as good. In fact, it's much better than you saying you're a great restaurant. Because this is much more trustworthy. It's much, there is that slight distance, but clearly you're not going to be a bad restaurant if you use great suppliers. So looking at how will you communicate that message helps a lot. Many of you will have a message like this one. Every day in hotels all over the world, tons of towels are washed and washing powder is used, blah, blah, blah. Save our planet. Reuse your towels. And the customers know that this message is not very honest, because they believe that you communicate this message to save money, not to save the planet. We did experiments with hotels, and the message that worked best in terms of changing the customer behavior was the one I'm showing you here. Reuse me tomorrow, just like at home. Because I believe every one of us at home uses our towel more than one day. What we found is that by changing this message, we went from 38 to 49% of large towels reused, and from 43% to 56% of small towels. And this was for a beach hotel in the Canary Islands. Clearly, you may say in your business is different. Maybe your percentages are higher. But the message I'm giving you here is experiment. Experiment with your communications. Don't accept that you have always communicated one way and there's no need to change, because every single change that you make gives you a new opportunity to learn from what you're doing. You may also want to use humor, but remember, humor will work very, very differently in Lapland from it will work in England or Berlin, right? So you need to consider what's humorous in your location may not be humorous for somebody else. This message I'm showing you here comes from a forest in the north of England, where you will be surprised, but yes, we do have forest fires as well. And the message, as you can see, is written so children will read it. No smoking, it makes your breath smell and your teeth go horrid, as well as being a danger to the people who live in our forest. These people who live in our forest actually are not really people. This is a forest where they say there are little creatures like dwarfs that live in the forest, and they're magical. Okay, so what we created here was a message where the children would say to their parents, you shouldn't smoke here because these little people that live in the forest will get down, will get hurt. And you could see the children going to the parents and saying, oh, daddy, does your breath smell? Are your teeth horrid? Oh, your teeth are yellow, they're disgusting, right? You all know that the best police of parents' behavior is their children. Okay. Now you may say this message may not work when I translate into Finnish or Swedish. Of course, try a different message, see what works, right? Put 5 or 6 customers in a room and say, we'll buy you coffee and we'll show you now 5 different messages. And you tell me which ones you like and which ones you don't like, and how would you respond to those messages. And then you don't have to print them in a beautiful laminated way. You just give it to them in a piece of paper and you get them to talk about it, and you listen to them. And then you decide, okay, how will I present that message so my customers change their behavior? Also, many customers that will come to Lapland for the first time, they are experiencing something that's entirely different to their normal lives. And particularly if they're international visitors. So you need to find a way of being engaging and to show to those customers that actually you have something in common, that you can trust them, that you understand them. So I remember from this tour operator that I saw on their website, this message that said, I'm finding more and more as I travel and I talk to parents, is the overwhelming number of you who are desperate to help your children to engage with the real world and leave their screens behind. And it's quite likely as a parent, if you're looking at this website, looking for opportunities to take your kids on a big holiday, you're thinking, yes, I can relate to that. So the fact that you are somehow reading that the person behind this tour operator is also a parent who also has similar values to your own makes you think you're much more likely to trust the excursion that this person will prepare for you. He or she is probably renting similar bicycles to the ones that you are wanting to rent, but also understands what it will be like to take a group of children, your own kids, on an excursion like this. So you're no longer selling the number of bicycles and the amount it's going to cost, but you're selling the fact that you can trust that company. There's also a number of things we can do to use sustainability communication to help you improve your customer satisfaction. And as businesses, you know how important it is that in TripAdvisor or in Booking.com or in Google Travel, that number that you've got there that says what is the level of satisfaction of your customers is as high as possible. The example I'm showing you here relates to making customers feel good. I know from when I've traveled in Lapland, whether it was in Finland or whether it was in Norway. I haven't been to the Swedish Lapland, but I will one day. But I know from having been, for example, to Ålanka National Park or in Tromsø, just how many amazing local produce I could taste, when I was in Ålanka, for example. It was brilliant. Or lower down in Runa and in Kooni, okay, which I know is further from where you are, but you can see where I'm coming from. And one of the beautiful things of the example I'm showing you here is this booklet didn't say the word sustainability once. I know we want to sell sustainability certification, but it's not always the best way. This booklet in the front page said, and who made my breakfast today? And you opened it, and on the left-hand side, there was always a photo of the supplier, and on the right-hand side, there was a little bit of text explaining why the product from that supplier is amazing. And what we were doing is essentially every table at this hotel, every breakfast table had one of these little booklets, and you can read it, you could have a look. And as you can see, short text. You see the photo of this lady and you think, oh, I would love to meet this person. She looks so interesting. I'm sure she has so many good stories to tell. So what this hotel did is they produced this booklet, not with every supplier, because some suppliers change. They produced it with the suppliers that they always use and they've been using for many years. As a result of this, the TripAdvisor ratings for this property went up. And we all know that if your TripAdvisor ratings go up, your number of bookings will go up. You also have to use appealing language. These photos I'm showing you here come from Feather Down. And if you want to search their website, they're brilliant. And one of the things they do is essentially they're selling you sustainability in an implicit way, not explicit. In a way that they're not saying, I am sustainable, but they're actually selling it to you in a deeper way. Their slogan is the best holidays in the land. And the message here is about allowing your children to roam free and reconnect with each other in our gorgeous farms. Later on, you can see that they say none of the farms where we take our visitors use pesticides in their fields. We wouldn't want to do this to your children, right? So suddenly they're communicating to you that we are organic farms, but they're doing it in a way that it's all about the safety and the well-being of your kids and how, well, if you wouldn't do that to your children, we don't want to do it either, right? We want to make you feel like we're really looking after you. And you can see that the main photo here they're selling you is that child is asleep, but looks happy, right? Like the message that basically said, you have really enjoyed yourself. I've got also here an example about using a bird menu, which I'll tell you very quickly. I know I'm likely to run out of time, but bear with me. This comes from a cafe where they had a food menu and a drinks menu. And I said to them, look, you've got all these trees around, you've got some bird feeders. Why don't we have a bird menu? And in that bird menu, you'll show me photos of the birds that are most commonly coming to eat from your bird feeders. And this way, the customer will get to see something different and they'll get to recognize some of those birds. They don't need a book about every bird that you can see in Scotland, which is where this was. They just need a few photos of the birds that are most common, and they probably don't see in England, but they can see in Scotland instead. You need to tell customers what's in it for me. Stop selling sustainability as it's good for the planet. I mean, I know that's why you're really doing it. But from a customer experience point of view, you first have to sell the message of what's the benefit for the customer. One particular business I visited was telling really proudly on their website that they now were not sending 12 tons of kitchen waste to landfill, and instead they were treating it in their own premises. And customers misunderstood this to mean that the garden of the hotel would be now full of 12 tons of kitchen waste. So we changed the message, and now the message says, our plants and our flowers look much more beautiful, and our customers often ask why they can't do the same with their own flowers at home. The secret is 12 tons of compost. Now, any of you that compost at home know exactly where compost comes from, but if you don't need to tell it on the website. On the website, please talk about the plants and the flowers being beautiful. And later on, you will tell them, and you can show them as well, you know, the industrial composting machine that you have to be able to then produce beautiful compost from 12 tons of kitchen waste. The same happened here with the example I can give you on sheep's wool, you know, being used to insulate the roof of a hotel, and the hotel communicating how, you know, their own sheep had given up their winter woolly coat to keep you warm at night in the hotel, and selling it in a much more emotional way than if you had otherwise communicated, well, you know, we've insulated the roof. Here's an example about non-verbal communication. We used a basketball hoop on top of a bin to make sure that runners in this particular half marathon outside the city of Barcelona, which is where I come from, would actually throw the bottles inside the bins, as opposed to just throwing them on the floor instead. So what I want you to remember from this is sometimes the best communication is non-verbal communication. It's the communication that makes it easier, and if possible, makes it fun for the customer to do the more sustainable thing. And also help customers take decisions. You remember my first example about writing on the cup as opposed to writing it on the beach hut? The same happens here. You need to think, what will help my customers take better decisions? You know, what does the customer need to know about my trip, my excursion, my tour operator, my accommodation, my attraction before booking? And I can guarantee you that this is different to what they will need to know after they've booked, but before they travel to you. And again, that's different to what they'll need to know when they arrive to your car park, or during the stay at your property, or after the stay at your property. The example here I'm giving you is from a tour operator. Look at the one at the right at the bottom. And it says, I would recommend taking a heat-proof or metal water bottle when trekking. It can be filled with boiling water in the evening and used as a hot water bottle to warm up in your sleeping bag. And then you will use it as a drinking bottle the following day. What's the message here? This was from trekking to the Everest Base Camp in Nepal. And this adventure tour operator essentially wanted to reduce the amount of plastic water bottles that Sherpas would have to carry on their back. So the way to do it is to say to customers, you bring your own heat-proof water bottle, we will melt snow when we're in base camp, clearly it's clean snow, and then you can sleep comfortably in your sleeping bag. Like, who doesn't want to have a hot water bottle in their sleeping bag when you are in Everest Base Camp? But we couldn't give a message to the customer, please don't buy water bottles, or please don't expect that we will carry plastic water bottles for you, because this sounds like it's providing less service. And instead, we need to provide more service. Third area of work that I want you to think about. How do you use your sustainability communication to increase your customer expenditure? Obviously, we need to increase the customer experience if we want to increase the customer expenditure. And I'm going to give you 4 examples on how we do that. I love these beautiful little birds. In English, we call them puffins. The reason I'm giving you their name is because in the area where puffins give birth to the little ones, in the north of England where I live, in that local area during the months of May and June, when the birds are here, the local cafeterias don't make cappuccinos. Oh no, they make capuffincinos. Essentially what they do is in your cappuccino, rather than throwing chocolate everywhere on top of it, they make the chocolate sprinkles on top in the shape of a puffin. with the shape maker. And we do this only in May and June when they're giving birth to the babies. So people that go to those cafes anywhere in the local area are reminded that this is a good time of year to go and see our little puffins being born. And this is so much more powerful and much more emotional than having said, here's a leaflet. And also the problem with the leaflets is in August, in September, we will still find a leaflet somewhere. And then we'll disappoint the customers because, of course, the puffins are no longer here. They've migrated south in this case. So you need to actually find fun, simple ways of making your customers feel special and feeling like they're receiving something unique. This also worked very well because it was often when the customers were thinking, I don't know what to do. We've just done something in the morning. We need to plan what to do in the afternoon. Let's go to a cafe, have a coffee, and we'll talk about it. And then, ta-da, these arrived at your table. And suddenly, as a customer, you think, oh, I know what we're going to do this afternoon. We're going to go and see that colony of puffins. The example I'm showing you now is something you could do at a destination level, or you could do if you're a large business. But if you are a Lapland level destination, I know you've got funding through your Interreg project, consider adapting this example to your area. This is called the 50 things to do before you are 11 3/4 years old. And this was created in the UK by the National Trust. The National Trust owns historic homes as well as protects beautiful land with scenic beauty as well as biodiversity value. And what they realized is that they were attracting a lot of elderly customers, but not many young families. And so they thought, right, we need a new campaign for young families. You may say to me, Xavier, why 11 3/4? It's very simple. It's much more fun than 12. And for example, if you have a niece or a son or a daughter and you ask them, Mary, how old are you? Are you 6? Mary probably say, no, I'm not 6. I'm 6.5. And the half is really important. Right? So we were playing here with the same idea. And what we tried to do is create a list of things that they could do pretty much at any one of the National Trust properties. You can see the list. To be an adventurer, you can climb a tree. You can roll down a really big hill. You can camp out in the wild. You can build a den. Now, I know for those of you that live in Lapland, you'll say, I don't get it. This is all really normal. Yes, but if you live in a city, these things are not normal. These things are exciting. And look at this list. What's the carbon footprint of any one of those things? 0. And in a way, for customers, considering the current cost of living crisis, these are also very good things because most of these things have 0 cost as well as 0 carbon footprint, which may not be a good thing for activity providers. Only I do think that they are. Because if we're assuming that people will come to Lapland and in the morning they will do an expensive activity and in the afternoon another expensive activity and the next morning another expensive activity, sorry, but they'll run out of money very, very quickly. And also they will not return. This list of activities is great because people return. I talked about this with one particular business a number of years ago. He came to my training about 10 years ago now. And then 3 years later, he came back and said, Xavier, I've done it. Look, I've adapted this list and I made it relevant to my hotel in the Spanish Pyrenees. Okay, so he has snow in the winter, people come skiing, he has sun in the summer, but then he said, I have a problem with spring and autumn. So he made sure that 10 of these things could only be done in autumn, like, for example, collecting different types of leaves from different trees. And then another 10 things could only be done in spring. And what he said to me is, if people do all 50, I give them a free weekend in a teepee or a yurt. And I said, David, you know, he was called David, right? So I said, David, this is really generous. And his answer was, well, it's not generous at all. The type of families that do all these 50 things are the families that I love having in my business. They are wholesome families. They're families that really enjoy being in nature. But very often they didn't know how to do it. Like in the city, they don't know how to engage with nature. Or they would have not thought that setting up a snail race or creating some wild art or you know, I don't know, going on a walk barefoot would actually be something that they could do, and it would be so much fun. And the parents used to say, my children are laughing and we are talking and we're doing something clean and easy, and we don't have a screen in our hands. We're doing something that is clean, right? If you did 10 of these and you went to a local tourist attraction or, you know, from National Trust, they gave your child the most important thing in the world, a sticker that said, you are an adventurer. Well done, Mary, right? So you have to give people things to do so they come back and they spend more money. And you have to find ways in which they improve their experience. From the business you've got here, this is north of Barcelona in Spain, in my local area. And you can see from the photo at the bottom that people really come because the hotel is near the beach. But this hotel also has a small allotment, as you can see at the top. And there is a sign here that says, if you want to help the chef collect the last vegetables for dinner, come at 6 p.m. This is Spain, we have dinner late, okay? Come at 6 p.m. and you can help the chef. So what this did is it created an opportunity for customers and the chef to talk. And the chef would come out, would see some visitors and say, oh, come here. Look, this is an onion. Come on, help me, pull it. Onion, like, whoa, this is a spring onion. It's different. Onion is different to spring onion. This is parsley, right? And they would say that often the chef would say to the customers, which room are you staying in? Room 23? Right. If you come, you know, you tell the customer, like the waiter, you're in room 23, and tonight for dinner, the onion that we just collected or the carrot that we just picked, you know, I will put that carrot on your plate. I will do something fun with that carrot for you to eat tonight. And this worked really, really well for children, for example, to make sure they try new things and also they engage with growing their own vegetables and producing things. The message I'm giving you here is you have to improve your experience and you need to make sure your customers are the protagonists, right? Customers don't want to be the spectators of their holiday. They want to be the protagonists. But sometimes you need to help them a little. Like in here, where we had to not just create the allotment, but we had to say 6 p.m. meet the chef, because otherwise the customers didn't want to interfere, like they didn't want to interrupt the chef. Let me give you one more example here, which is not, this is an example for large businesses. How am I doing for time? Okay, I can do this. This is an example from expensive hotels, okay, normally in large cities. Westin hotels are not cheap. What they realize is that people that stay at Westin hotels go there for business travel. And they realize that most people who travel for business, first, they're getting fat, they're getting unfit because they're always traveling for business and they don't have time to exercise. And also, they don't have space in their suitcase for bringing their exercise clothes. So what Westin hotels do is for €5, you can rent trainers and you can rent running clothes. And the advantage of this is that you actually get to see the city, right? This is not for running inside the hotel. This is for you to be able to go and run outside, right? And go and discover other places. Business travelers love it because they don't have the space to carry back, you know, sweaty clothes inside their suitcase where they probably have all their work clothes and their laptop and so on. And they really don't have the space for carrying dirty trainers, right? And probably now they're muddy and they're wet and everything. So they quite like the idea of being able to renting from the property. Equally, for many of you in Lapland, like if I came from England, it's unlikely that I would have all the clothing that I would need to come and enjoy Lapland. But if you said to me, look, we can lend you a lot of the things that you may need, I am much more likely to choose you as a supplier than to choose somebody else. Because one thing is for sure, I do want to come to Lapland, but I don't want to have to buy all the equipment that I will only use once. And also, this is really unsustainable. You can find ways of increasing loyalty and reducing seasonality at the same time. I'm going to give you 4 more examples on how we can do this. The first thing I'm proposing is, if you want to increase the number of customers talking nicely about you, and if you want to make them aware of the things that you're doing, you have to, again, use humor and do it in a way that you remember. very often you cannot control the behavior of your customers. So you need to trust your customers to do the right thing. So the first thing I would suggest is go to any messages you have to use the words no or don't and change them, right? Because nobody likes receiving a message that says don't do something. The message you can see here on this bench, and I wish I'd taken a better photo, but you can see there's a little green label. If you zoomed in, that little green label said, "You're amazing. Because you've recycled 5,000 bottles in the car park of this walk, at the beginning of this walk, we have been able to make this bench, plastic bench with recycled bottles, so you can enjoy the picnic and, you know, your picnic and the view." By starting the message with "you're amazing," people are much more likely to continue reading. Why am I amazing? What's going on here, right? So the messages start with "well done, you're amazing." They're much, much more likely to be well received. The messages start with "don't do something." How many times have you gone to a cafeteria and there's a little message on your coffee cup that says, you know, "warning, too hot"? And what's the first thing that you do when somebody tells you something is too hot? You actually drink it to see if it's really too hot, and then you burn your tongue. And you're thinking, oh my God, are you silly or something? Yeah, they just told you it's too hot. How many times do you go to a child and say, "Child, don't touch these, you'll hurt yourself"? What's the first thing that child is going to do? They'll try to do it. Right? What I'm proposing here is that we need to change our method of communication to be something that actually encourages the customer to move away from the thing you don't want them to do and encourage them to do something else. You need to find a way also weather-proofing your offer. My feeling is, if I come to Lapland, I know, guys, you've got the real 4 seasons, okay? And I've heard a number of times when talking to people from Finland, they tell me that they really have 4 seasons. This is great. For most customers from other parts of the world, your 4 seasons look really scary. In summer, I have my concern that I'm going to have midges everywhere, and all those midges are going to eat me alive if I come to Lapland. And then I'm thinking, well, in autumn, it's going to be dark. And then in spring, well, it's still going to be snow, and there's going to be like slush everywhere. And then in winter, well, it's got to be a really short holiday, because otherwise I can come and see the Northern Lights. But then afterwards, what else is there to do here? Right? And it's going to be very expensive. I need to buy new clothes and so on. So the challenge that we've got is your website needs to show me what to do in and around your property and your destination at different times of year. And if you cannot identify why should I come in November, in December, in January and February, and every month you need to sell me something slightly different, slightly unique, then it's very difficult. If you don't know how to sell it to me, it's very difficult for me as a customer to identify why should I come. Right? I was giving this very same training course a week ago to businesses in Barcelona. And I said to them, guys, I've just looked at your website, and there are photos on your website of people wearing T-shirts. And I'm doing this training for you at the end of October. Essentially, your photos are telling me, do not come to Barcelona until at least April, when I will be able to wear T-shirts again. Because trust me, I know if you're from Finland and Sweden, you may think you can wear T-shirts in Barcelona all year round, but mostly you can't, right? And that's changing. And also the business in Barcelona were telling me, we actually have seen a reduction in the number of customers coming in July and August. And we've seen an increase in the number of people coming at other times of year. But we need to now learn how to sell them products and activities they can do at different times of year. Yesterday, I was doing a similar training course in Brittany, in the north of France. And they said they've actually seen an increase in the number of customers coming from the south of France to the north of France in July and August, because it's too hot in the south of France. And they said, we had never had this situation in the past. This is new to us. Okay, so equally for you, and the photo you can see here comes from Indonesia, where they said to me, Xavier, we have monsoon season, right? We have 2 months in the summer when it rains a lot. How do we sell it? And we created new holidays that were essentially yoga in the monsoon season. And we sold them the idea that there is never a better moment to relax doing your yoga than when there is heavy rain outside. And actually, if you've been in that part of the world when there's a monsoon season, the rain is at the very specific times of day. And then the rest of the time, it doesn't rain. It's just very green and wet and humid. Right? In Kenya, I delivered training as well there, and they no longer talk about the high season and the low season. Now they don't talk about the low season, they talk about the green season. And they found there's a number of customers that say, yeah, I'd like to come to Kenya in the green season. Why not? It sounds good, right? It's not like it rains a lot, but actually provides a very different landscape where you can go and see certain animals. So equally, you need to also think from your point of view that your Swedish, your Danish, your Finnish customers will have a different understanding of what is weatherproofed activities compared to customers that will come from Germany, France, Holland, and they will have different expectations. And they may be less accustomed to understanding what they can expect in the north. Okay. But what I see from data from Iceland and from Tromsø, where I've done some work in the past, is that people travel further at that time of year, in the low season, but their length of stay is shorter. So we need to think of new things to do. Equally linked to this, and I just mentioned that you need to add a calendar. You need to show me at every single month of the year, what does your garden look like? What birds come over in this area? What are the flowers I can see? What festivals happen? What will be the seasonal food of that particular month? What your garden will look like? And you need to invest money in photography, right? And I see that most small businesses do not invest enough money on good photography. And I don't mean good photography not of your property, I mean of around your property. So I'll give you another example here. At some point, I helped a business, to invite a group of photographers in January and February, right? And we said to them, look, you can stay here for free. You just need to pay for food, but you don't have to pay for the accommodation. And in exchange, we want you to leave really good quality photos that then we'll be able to use. We printed those photos really big, and we also then produced, photography books, and every single bedroom in the hotel had photos, right? And in this case, they had a number of photos of low season, January and February, to encourage customers to come back at that time of year. And then later on, we actually decided we wanted to make another kind of book. We made a book that had 3 photos for January, 3 for February, 3 for March, 3 for April, showing how the seasons change and how the place looked different and how the light was different. And what we ended up doing as a result of this is we encouraged many more photographers to come to this area because they recognize the name of other photographers who'd been here. And they also recognize the beauty of the landscape that we had around us. But many customers, they would arrive in October and they would see this book and they think, I never thought that in March we could do some of these things. Right? This place looks really attractive in April. Oh, we'll want to come back at that time of year. Let me give you one final example for this section. And the example here is trying to show you that you don't need to be very, very good at digital marketing to do certain things. There's an example from a lady who owned her own small bed and breakfast. And when I met Mary, she was about 75 years old. Okay. And this is a few years ago now. And what Mary basically showed me, she said, look, Xavier, at my age, I don't want to have more customers. I just want to have nicer customers, customers that I really like. And she said, so what I do is, with the customers that visit me, that I like them. So I don't do this with everybody. With customers I really like, I take them out to collect some flowers from the fields. And I help them press those flowers. And then Mary said, and with those customers, I give them a little kind of piece of cardboard, like a white, piece of like a card. And I say to those children, look, draw something for me here. Do me a picture. And then she would give those children an envelope. And she'd say, could you write your address in this envelope for me? The week before Christmas, Mary used to get the flowers that your children had pressed and put it inside the postcard that your own children had drawn, and put it in the envelope and send it to you. And by that stage, of course, it's like 3-4 months since you've been in that holiday. So by Christmas Day, you have this beautiful card that has just arrived to your house. And it gives you like a completely different experience. It kind of helps you remember what you did with your own kids 3 months ago. And of course, what happens at Christmas? Probably the grandparents will come and the uncles and cousins will come. So actually, Mary used to get bookings during the Christmas break for then people to come in spring. And she used to get larger bookings because then a bigger part of the family would come and visit. And obviously, Mary could have not done this with everybody because it would be too much work, but she only chose to do it with the customers she really liked. Now, all of that, many of the examples I've just given you, you'll say, well, maybe you're giving me a different example, but I know the principles behind that, and we've been doing some of those things. That's great. Let's do more of that, and let's be more experimental. Also, what we've noticed is in the last couple of years, we've had bigger companies to engage much more with the idea of marketing and communicating sustainability. If any of you sell through booking.com, you'll recognize the example from the top right-hand side, because it's very much the format of how booking.com does it. And you can see it's got an explanation here saying travel sustainable property. I work with booking.com from time to time, advising them how to do this. And we've now collected information from 1.6 million properties about their sustainability practices. And the 600,000 that are doing it most convincingly, we've now given them this label and now are being showcased on the booking.com website. And with Booking, we are trying every possible way to increase the amount of business, essentially, that properties that are doing more activities for sustainability will achieve. Now, what we're finding is we're experimenting as much as we can. And one thing I can guarantee you, business like Booking, they know how to maximize revenue through their website. Together with Booking, we're now rolling this out to Expedia, TripAdvisor, Google Travel, Skyscanner, Amadeus, Travelport, Trip, and there will be more to come. There is a whole coalition that's now working together on how to identify sustainability practices in their supply chain and how to communicate them consistently to their customers. The example I'm giving you here at the bottom left-hand side comes from Google Flights. Now, I don't know which portal you use to choose your flights when you go somewhere, but Google Flights, Skyscanner, and I believe also Sabre is now displaying sustainability information, in this case, carbon emissions, for different flights when you search a particular route. And it tells you what's the carbon footprint and also whether for that particular route, that choice that you're looking at is above or below in emissions to the average for that particular route. And again, what we're trying to do with both of these is to influence customer choices, right? So you've got both routes. You've got the route that mostly you may use normally, which is through my own website, through my own tourist board. I will find ways to showing what's really sustainable about my property. But then you also now have the big companies that are going to ask you increasingly more information about your sustainability practices, so then they can showcase it in their own portal. And you'll need to understand in which format they will want you to show that information to them and which will be the routes they will use for that. Thank you very much. I was asked to leave about 15 minutes for questions, so I wanted to finish exactly at 45 past. I will stop sharing my screen, and if you have some questions you want to ask, please put them in the questions and answers or in the chat, and I'm going to stay here for a few minutes to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Professor Font. This was extremely interesting and well-packed information. I hope the Q&A function is open now. If you have any questions, please welcome, write them down. I understand that encouraging and nudging and rewarding your clients is of big importance, and also getting to know them, know who they are. And you spoke about you were involved in the book and in the booking.com sustainable work. I've been following their the large annual customer gallop for a little time now, and one of the things that surprised me was the huge difference between suppliers' expectations of what consumers wanted to know compared with what the consumers really answered they expect from the suppliers.
That's
that
right.
was quite interesting. Very big difference. Do you have anything to say about that? Because
so the first thing to consider is when customers answer a questionnaire like that, they're always telling you exactly the truth, right? So, if I went to you, Bo, and said, Bo, are you a good father? Are you a good husband? Answering a questionnaire from strongly agree to strongly disagree. You'll probably answer, yes, of course, I'm really good, right? Then our day-to-day behavior is probably a little bit different. But it's a little bit like asking me on New Year's Day, Xavier, do you intend to do more exercise and eat more healthily in the next year? I will definitely say yes. And then probably the week after, I'm already eating the wrong thing, right? So we need to remember people's behavioral intentions to behave more sustainably are going up year after year, for 100% true. However, as a business, we need to make it easy for the customer to choose a sustainable product or experience that will also fulfill their other needs. Customers are looking for price, quality, location, convenience, and what they don't want to hear is that sustainability is an alternative to any of those things. What they want to hear is that because you're sustainable, it's better quality. Because you're sustainable, you can be trusted more. Because you're sustainable, you're more convenient. Because you're sustainable, you're actually cheaper, not more expensive. Nobody wants to hear that you have to pay more for sustainable. People are prepared to pay for quality, not for sustainability. So you have to find, as a business, you have to find a way of making sure that sustainability is communicated as something that the customer wants. And that's why I keep emphasizing, like, if you can start the message, I will have more fun in this business because ... And then you put something about sustainability. Okay, great.
So as long as you can take, as a customer, when you can take part in a joyful way of the story, of being a better traveler or better consumer, then it works.
Yeah, but never sell sustainability as a sacrifice.
Exactly.
A few customers may want it, but not everybody. There's a comment or there's a question. It says, in your experience, that is often low-hanging. What is often a low-hanging fruit for tour operators that they often miss? There are a number of them, but again, focusing on what does the customer need to know before they book you, right? And very often we use a tour operator's website as the place to put all the information on all your sustainability practices, instead of thinking, what does the customer really need to know to realize what makes my product different? Right? And so that understanding of what are the customer needs at this moment in time is essential.
Right. And we have a question from the audience.
Yeah.
So right, we have a question from the audience related exactly to that. In your experience, that is often low-hanging fruit for tour operators that they often miss.
Yes, that's the one I was just trying to answer that. So
okay,
very often you miss the fact that you're not considering what that person needs to know at this moment. And also, from a tour operator point of view, I think that we miss the fact that the person who's just visited you is probably the best person that could recommend you. And very often people will go back home, they'll say, I really enjoyed myself in Lapland. How do you do it? So if they say, I really enjoyed myself in Lapland because I went with that tour operator. How do you find a way of planting in that person's head that it's because they were with you, that because you did something different? Now, you need to find a way during that person's stay that you are able to explain to them, other companies do this way, we do it differently because we think you'll get to see the real Lapland. or we do it differently because we want to actually create local jobs, or we do it differently because blah, blah, blah. You need to find ways in which you can communicate to them what will be different about this particular experience. And again, from a tour operator point of view, I see that many of you compete on price and mostly on price, like, a reindeer, trip, going and seeing the dogs, or going, sledging, or doing something else. And you tend to be very, very price focused. If you're able to explain a little bit more, just like I did earlier about the quality of the food suppliers, and being able to say, why do you work with those suppliers? What do you do differently with those suppliers? Or you're able to explain in more detail why, for example, if you go dog sledging, what are the names of your dogs? How do you look after those dogs? Because for many people who come from elsewhere, they'll say, well, those dogs didn't look happy to me. Well, they have no idea what does a happy dog look like or not. They just understand what a happy dog looks like in London, not in that kind of context. So you'll need to interpret certain things for them a lot more, so that customer genuinely understands how you're looking after those animals and that landscape and the place, and what do you bring back.
And what do we bring back from this day? And now I think we have a really good package of advices, tips, and inspiration for our continued work. It's a vast and challenging product geography. We are 2 countries, but within both these countries, there are many different cultures, histories, food culture, and this is both a challenge, but also a big possibility. There are many stories to tell, and along the way, and that might be one of our advantages. You have the possibility to increase your understanding for a Nordic concept that is not connected only to a particular place, especially when you do the whole trip.
I'm convinced of that, but as somebody who could consider traveling there, think of what's happened, for example, with Iceland and also Tromsø, both places I know better. The length of stay or visit is very, very short. They have a lot of offer, but actually what people tend to do is very obvious. They go to the 2 or 3 most obvious places, and the number of repeat visits to those destinations is very, very low. So we have to find a way of increasing length of stay and increasing repeat visitation. And because, again, the carbon footprint of flying to Lapland is high, and it's the same carbon footprint whether you stay for 2 nights or 5 nights. But it seems to me at the moment we're not selling the variety of activities that we could do.
Exactly. I think we need to act also to approach also European travelers as some destinations do with overseas. This is the travel of your life. Stay longer, take your time to learn in depth the variety, and your 50 your checklist with all that can also be adapted in a very nice way to encourage coming back, as there is so many things to discover on different levels. Either you are a foodie or yeah.
The other thing that surprised me is that, for example, and again, I'm going back to Norway, okay? But I imagine it's the same for you in Sweden. The number of Norwegian people from the south of Norway that have never been to the north of Norway, they've never been to Lapland, but they've been to Spain 10 times. I'm thinking, well, there's something wrong here, and the same happens in the UK. Most people from London have never been to Scotland, but they've traveled to Australia. And you're thinking, well, this doesn't really add up. There are so many things you can do in Lapland that are super exciting, and you don't need to go to the end of the world to do something exciting.
You're absolutely right. We have a question from Kim. Any tips from inspiring domestic tourism in Swedish Lapland or the whole Bothnian Coastal Route all year round? And if you have to answer that question, I think we need to invite you to do the whole tour once, and you help us with an evaluation.
Yeah, I mean, in Scotland, we tried a campaign that basically was to get Scottish people to travel within Scotland. And the message was, well, you are not really Scottish unless you have done this bucket list of number of things. And we were basically saying, to be really Scottish, you need to have done these 20 things. You need to have eaten these 10 different things. You need to have visited, like participated in this series of things. And as you can imagine, just like for yourselves, there's a real sense of pride in being Scottish, right? So there was a way of creating that element of pride. So actually working on that kind of pride of saying, well, you're not really Swedish until you have visited Swedish Lapland. And you're not really Swedish until you have done these 10 different things. This is where the real Sweden is, right? And we could do it almost like using a bit of humor and do it almost like a competition, so friends can talk to one another and say, well, I'm more Swedish than you because I've already done 9 of the 25 things, whereas you've only done 3. You could almost have like a website where people could almost like register, in the website. Remember, I'm making this up as I go along, okay? Maybe a good idea. You may say this is rubbish. But if you kind of had a system where you could say, well, just how Swedish are you? And you could go there and you could do your own test or how Swedish you are in terms of what things have you eaten, what places have you gone to? And essentially, most of the things you're proposing that they do will send them north, right? And then from those, like the more things they've done, the more that then it communicates to other people. And you can use these as kind of bragging rights or being able to say, well, look, I've now achieved like bronze level of Swedishness. I now need to achieve silver level of Swedishness, right? Because again, gamification works really well. If you look at how many people will start exercising or will start doing things because you've created a game out of it. They gave you the 30-day challenge, or whether it's yoga or going running or whatever it is.
Excellent advices, and I think those words is a good ending of today's sessions. Thank you very much, Professor Font, and all the panelists and the audience. I think we had a really good lesson today and a lot of inspirations. We will continue our work in the Bothnian Coastal Route group, and there is more to come. We will keep you updated for coming seminars and other activities also. And I wish you a continued splendid day. Thank you all. Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon again.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.